Dylan Brock is on the run from several evil organizations that want to steal his father's suit and gain control of Symbiote Khan. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Venom number 6 and number 7 and find out together, shall we? Well, now it's been a while, hasn't it? If you don't remember when we last left off, Dylan Brock was the prisoner of Alchemex and their CEO, Liz Allen. Yes, Liz Allen is evil. I feel like a lot of people have forgotten that she's bad and been bad for a long time. Dylan was lucky enough to receive a message of hope from his father wherever he is in the far-flung future. Again, there's a kind of strange primer-style time travel story going on in the background of this brand new Venom book. Emboldened by his father's words, Venom is able to join forces with Dylan once again, and together the two escape. Liz gives a big old press conference and talks about how evil and dangerous this brand new evolving symbiote threat is, even though in her internal monologue she knows she's completely lying and questioning how far she's gone to the dark side, now literally hunting a child. This newest bit of perceived symbiote violence is all certain groups like Senator Crane and Carlton Drake of the Life Foundation need to redouble their efforts now with brand new official funding. Hell, we already saw what Archer could do with the brand new Spear Point suit, but Drake even talks about reassembling the Jury, which was a group of recurring Venom foes back from his Lethal Protector days. But where exactly did Dylan run off to after escaping Alchemax? Well, it seems like he drifted all the way to Modesto, California, where he was taken in by a kindly suntan biker man named Jake. Despite his rough exterior, Jake knew that the kid had been through some hard times and wanted to help him out. He was also drawn to Dylan's jacket, which has a picture of the Big Dipper on the back. I guess he's been wearing this jacket the whole time, we just didn't notice. Jake says the design reminds him of the first biker gang he ever ran with, the Seven Saints. Apparently they were good dudes, rebels and outsiders, just trying to make it in this crazy world, brother. Eventually, the gang got patched over into a much bigger outlaw biker gang called the Renegades. As we hear tell, the Renegades used to run this town back in the day when things were good. Unfortunately, they've been edged out by their competitors, another gang called the Hellhounds. Oh, I get it. California, Renegades, and Hellhounds. They're supposed to be the outlaws and the Hells Angels. Bet you didn't know on top of all the comic stuff I know my biker history, too. The Hellhounds have been acting extra violent and extra sadistic lately because some mysterious individual hit one of their stash houses. Dylan knows all about this daring raid because, well, he was the one who did it. He's been attempting to move Venom into a more heroic direction, and that started with taking out some no-good bikers. Only here's the problem, Dylan's still a kid, he's not trained as a superhero, and he didn't for a second think about escalation. All those bikers he beat up but spared were able to run back to their boss, who says that they were targeted by a symbiote. Well, they say cinnamon boat because they're too dumb to say the word symbiote. Their leader doesn't believe them, though, and ends up putting all the blame on Jake and the Renegades, which means this poor small town is going to be caught in the crossfire of a biker war. Worse still, Dylan and the actual Venom suit still don't see eye to eye on their next course of action. The suit thinks they've spent too long in this town and need to leave ASAP before the Life Foundation, Alchemex, or any of the other number of people out there trying to kill them catch up to them. Dylan doesn't want to leave, though, until he sets things right. He says that he wants to do what his father never could. He wants to be a real, actual hero and not spend the rest of his life trying to atone for past sins. An admirable goal, to say the least, but as the suit says, it's just not in either of their natures, that when they fuse together, they're still all teeth and claws, that there's a darkness inside Dylan, too, that he doesn't want to admit. And that running around cosplaying as Spider-Man and dueling out half-measured justice isn't going to make anything better. It's only going to make things worse. And indeed, worse does end up coming. Once the news starts picking up stories about this biker war in a small town being burned to ashes, it catches the ears of Bedlam, the evil, seemingly time-traveling symbiote creature working for Meridius, who wanted to unseat Eddie Brock as the King in Black. Now, as issue 7 begins, Dylan does his best to try and protect the town from the Hellhounds. Once again, this includes not killing, which the Venom suit only sees as wasting time that they don't have. Not only is Bedlam on their trail right now, but Spear Point and the rest of the Life Foundation have showed up too. Meaning that if Dylan really does want to do the right thing and be the hero, he's officially on the clock right now. Jake and the Renegades end up having a big showdown with the leader of the Hellhounds. We discover that even though the Hounds are well aware that it was a symbiote that hit their stash house, that still doesn't mean they're not going to let Jake and his people go. Quite the opposite. In fact, as we discover, this small Modesto town is actually on the border, which in turn means the Hounds end up muling a bunch of stuff over the border for a lot bigger, a lot scarier criminals than themselves. The cartels will unfortunately not take Symbiote as an answer, and because of that, the Hellhounds need to come back with Jake's head to prove that they did their job. In an attempt to try and save his own people, Jake decides to challenge the Hellhounds leader to a one-on-one fight, you and me in the circle of death. Which, of course, if you've been paying attention, actually ends up drawing a nice parallel between Jake's own story and Dylan's internal trauma right now. Jake says he's not a hero, he's no saint, but he'd be nothing if he didn't at least try to do the right thing. While all this is going on, Dylan ends up getting knocked around town by the reappearance of Bedlam. This thing's bigger and meaner than anything Dylan has ever dealt with before. In fact, he wrongly jumps to the conclusion at first that this thing must be a creation of Alchemax like the other suits they were experimenting on. Little could Dylan possibly know that whatever this thing is, it's much more deeply tied into what's going on with his father in the future currently. Dylan ever so briefly manages to give this thing the slip and tries to reinforce the renegades back at Jake's bar. Sadly, Dylan shows up much too late and they've been shot up. In this moment of anguish, Bedlam once again manages to grab Venom from behind, this time actually revealing its true face to Dylan. And it's a face all too familiar to Dylan. Well, it seems that it's Eddie's face, or maybe even potentially his own face. We only see the back of his head. And so that was Venom issue number 6 and number 7, everybody. And honestly, I ended up enjoying this 2-pack of stories much more than I thought I was. Heck, I even considered there for a bit not keeping up with this book, but now I'm glad I did. Dylan's cross-country fleeing from all these different groups that want him actually remind me very much of classic Hulk stories. A troubled drifter getting involved in people's lives and adventures, never being able to stay too long because of the horror and destruction he brings with him. I also really loved the biker stuff too. It seems Ram V did his homework. And it gives the book this unique grungy flavor that you don't really get in any other comic book right now. I still don't know if I'm fully won over by the whole cosmic time travel primer stuff going on with Eddie, but I can say I at least like the Dylan parts of the book pretty well, which is why I would give this one a much deserved 8 out of 10.
Hey there everyone, Kate Joel again, and I just want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. It means a lot to me. And hey, if you enjoyed the book I covered in this issue and want some comics of your own, might I recommend Book Depository? It's my #1 place for shopping for comic book trades. You get a great price, and if you use my link down in the description, you'll actually be helping me out at the same time. You get something, I get something, everybody wins, right? So until next time everyone, I've been Joel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.